Well, today is the 4th of July, 2026, which means it is the 250th birthday of the greatest nation in the world. And I have so much to say, but I thought that what I would do is two things. Number one, I thought I would talk about my feelings about this country in the most brief and concise way possible, and that is the fact that I am first generation born to this country, to a mother and father who were born and raised in Egypt. And I was raised to love this country. I was raised to be proud of every opportunity given to us in this country. And I was raised to believe, because it's true, that America was founded on biblical principles, Christian principles, very powerful ones. And I stand here today talking to you knowing that that is very much at threat. Why? Because the devil hates this country. He hates the people of this country. He hates this nation. He hates the people of this nation, and he will do anything that he can to attack this nation. I love this nation. I don't want it to be lost. This nation is profoundly important. This republic is profoundly important. And what I thought I would do is read some thoughts that got written by a very dear friend of mine. If you don't know, some of you might know who he is. He's a guy that's very, very special to me. He's a wealthy businessman. 6 generations in his family, because of his leadership, are now running his multiple businesses, all of which are very successful. He's in the oil business, aerospace business, by the way. One of only a few companies that lands their own rockets after launching them, which is pretty cool. And he's just, the guy is just an amazing man and a very dear friend of mine, David Mitchell. Now, we get together every single Saturday, today also included, on a Zoom call since he's in Texas, and we spend about a good solid 3 hours together, 2 to 3 hours together, drinking coffee and talking about the things of God. And it's a great accountability time. And he's one of the very few guys that I even know that's a pastor and a businessman and actually really is smart about what he does, and just somebody that I just admire. He wrote this, and man, it's heavy. It's really, really heavy. I want you to just listen to what he says and just understand the heart of what he says here, because it's heavy. I don't know if I can say heavy any more times, but let me read this to you. He says this. He says, last night, the Marxist mayor of New York City said this: "We see a country where children go to bed hungry while the world's first trillionaire hungers for more. The powerful have always known their answer. In their view, America is an arena of supremacy where only a select few are allowed freedom, where not all are created equal. America, they will tell you, belongs only to those with the right accent or the right color of skin. The rest of us, they insist, should be grateful to be allowed to visit. How small they are, how weak, how unoriginal." Let me just say before I read on what David says, what a satanic statement made by an incredibly satanic man. Anyway, this is what David says about those words. He says, "I know Hitler was not a Marxist, but he used the same methods to turn the average person on the street against the producers, the leaders, the doctors, the artists, the industrialists who built the Germany of his day, so that the people in the street would give him permission to murder them all and take power. And most of all, Hitler played the race card to get permission to destroy everyone other than his own race, which to Memdami, that would be to destroy the white people, in particular all Jews and Christians, who are the privileged, quote, privileged trouble instigators. I've lived long enough to see this before. This is nothing new, but it sure is frightening to see it on the streets of New York City." And he gave this speech, by the way, sitting behind the historic desk used by George Washington during his presidency. That makes me sick, by the way. So the most industrious, brilliant man in America right now is Elon Musk, and he turns the people against this man. Then he convinces the people on the street that unless you're a trillionaire, you don't have any freedom. And then he neglected to say that the very freedom that allows a person to be an entrepreneur in a nation that supports him, become that person is what allowed Elon Musk to rise up from nothing to being a trillionaire, all on his own industrious work. And this kind of industrious work is demonized while getting everything for free from the government is what is going to be glorious, he teaches. And he puts in parentheses here. He says that isn't until all the millionaires move out, and then where does the free money come from? And he says, may the Lord silence him. I said that from memory. This is what he actually wrote. He wrote, may the Lord strike him down before he encourages too many uneducated young people to follow him. By the way, when he says, may the Lord strike him down, I'm certain what he's talking about is may the Lord get him out of office, or at least reduce his platform. I think that's what's being spoken of here. There's no, I want to make myself clear, knowing I know David well, there's no call for violence here. I just want to make sure, I want to make that very, very clear. So he says, may the Lord, the wind is blowing pretty hard here. I'm going to do my best to see if I can get this down. Okay, sorry. Let me try this one more time. He says, may the Lord strike him down before he encourages too many uneducated young people to follow him. If that happens within 20 years, everyone will be equal. Everyone will be equal, equally poor and miserable, under subjection of the boot of the communists on their necks. And Memdami, like Fidel Castro before him, will own all of the stuff that he took away from the rich before he killed them or cast them away. And people will be left with nothing but 30-year-old cars, crumbling buildings, bread lines, potholed streets, and murder in those same streets. History shows us this. You know, you might read something like this and you might think, man, that just sounds very negative and very difficult. What my friend is doing is he's recognizing the nation that he loves so much under tremendous threat. Threat by people who actually hate this country. Threat by people who hate the republic for which it stands. Threat by people who really don't understand what it means to build. Men like him, the only thing they do is inherit and tear down. That's what they do. And it's evil, and it's dark. And may the fact that we made it to 250 years be a starting point for a different way of thinking. The way of thinking that our forefathers thought. The way of thinking that we have been called to as believers. You know, the Bible says that we were created in God's likeness and image. And if we were created in God's likeness and image, that means that we function the best when we do the things that God does. And God has called us to be creators. Creators of industry. Creators of family. Creators of an environment that encourages the worship of God. What happened to all of that? We have brainwashing centers that our kids go to called public school. Academia is a fancy word for hatred school. What are we doing? What are we doing? I hope and I pray that there will be somebody, generations from me, if the Lord tarries, that will be able to look back on this year and this time period and recognize it as a time that this nation turned its heart towards the Lord. Recognize its foundation, recognize its roots, came back to that place and started walking with the God that not only created them, but gave them this great republic. I hope and pray we're able to keep it. With all that said, happy Independence Day. Remember all the suffering, all the sacrifice, all the things that were done to give us this beautiful, amazing, great republic, the greatest country in the world, the only country in the world that people want to break into instead of break out of. The only country in the world that can take a man who had nothing and make him the world's first trillionaire. The only country in the world that gives everybody an opportunity. Equality of opportunity. What a great country. What a great God we serve. Let's go back to the roots and let's watch him do great things. I love you guys. Happy Independence Day.